Thank you all for joining me for another episode of Keeping It Real with America's Supermom. I have another guest that I got connected with on Clubhouse. This one is a special interview because I think it's like one of the first few weeks that I actually got on Clubhouse when I was just going from room to room, meeting all kinds of people. So this is really kind of like a little catch up type episode to kind of see how things have grown and moved, beyond what we could imagine just from that first introduction. So I have Tarah here, and I want to give her the opportunity to introduce herself before we get into some great conversation.
Hi, I'm Tarah. I'm from Idaho, and that's where I currently live. And I recently quit my job of 10 years as an automotive technician to start a nonprofit to provide transitional living for vulnerable youth. That's what
I
I'm
love
doing.
I love that. And we actually got connected in a room about having confidence with conversations. And I am just like, one, I'm elated because it's like from that conversation to now being on a podcast, talk to us about how you were able, and I think it's just been since January.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So how did that happen? What are some of the things that you've kind of done leading up to this interview for today?
Not a whole lot. I'm still actually fairly nervous. But I did get a couple of opportunities to speak virtually at the International Women's Day event. And I got to tell a couple of stories. It was local, put on by the Idaho Indigenous Alliance group here in the Treasure Valley. And they let me get a few minutes on there, and I read a couple of poems, and I told a story, and I was shaking and sweating the whole time, and everybody said I did great. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I love that. Now, so talk to us now after you have done those things. All the advice we say about, just do it scared and all these different things. What stands out to you the most after you did it?
That it really wasn't that bad. Like I was just telling my little sister how nervous I was about this. And I was like, but I'm just going to do it because that's what I've been doing and it's been working. And I feel like the more that I do it, the easier it gets. And even just from the first 30 seconds into the first 3 minutes, I feel a little more relaxed. The shoulders come down a little bit. And so that's definitely a thing. So just doing it.
Yeah. I love it. And I look back over some of the things that I get nervous of, and it's like, man, I really just conquered that. It was not as bad as I thought. So I love your nonprofit and being there for at-risk youth. Is that what you said it was?
I call them vulnerable youth. They're definitely at risk as well. Yeah.
Okay. So, talk to us about why that is a mission for you, in terms of working with that sector of youth, and how do you determine those that are vulnerable from other youth? What is it that really kind of stands out with your nonprofit?
So for me, it's a very personal journey. I can remember being probably 10 years old and saying I wanted to start. I was either going to be a rock star when I grew up, or I was going to have an after school program for kids who couldn't afford musical instruments to be able to go and have instruments to play and learn how to play music. That's always been something that I've wanted to do. And then, you go through life, you go middle school, high school, all of that. And I found myself in the foster system. And when I left the foster system, I literally was 17 and almost 18. The day before I turned 18, they dropped me off at this transitional living situation, but it didn't have enough room for me. And so they said, well, you're 18 now. So bye. And I had no idea what I was doing. My parents weren't around. I couch surfed for a really long time. I figured it out all on my own, and it was rough and it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if there would have been a program like what I'm envisioning, it would have been a lot easier, and I would have learned a lot more important lessons a lot sooner, I think.
Yeah.
So it's really for me, it's about giving somebody else what I wished I had when I was that age.
Mm.
You
I
know,
love it. Yeah.
yeah, just the stability, the knowledge. Like nobody told me how to balance my checkbook. I was 18 and a half and had like the worst credit, and all my credit cards were maxed out, and I had no idea how to do any of that or get a job or anything. I didn't know how to pay bills. I didn't know how to do any of it.
Mm.
So I feel like this program is very much needed. There's not a whole lot of things out there, especially in Idaho, where people from the ages of 18 to 24 can land. You know, usually with the system, it's adios, you know, figure it out. And then you have homelessness, you know, teen pregnancies because there's no other place for them to go. And, you know, it leads to so many more like hurtful things, detrimental things, I think, along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be
I
a
love,
safe landing space. So
yeah, I love that. And, there's something special about going through a journey, being on the other side and then going back to help others. That was my
mm-hmm,
story with depression. I'm just so passionate about it because, for some people it's invisible. They can't see it. And so it's the
mm-hmm,
ones that have experienced that are the ones that just kind of say, hey, you know what? This is a bright light that's shining where people need help.
right.
And so you get to be that advocate. So for people that are watching and they do notice youth that maybe something's not quite right, they're staying the night or whatever, what advice would you give them about, taking the first steps to help in that situation? Because I think sometimes people think, they don't know what to do. They don't know if
Mm-hmm,
it's okay. I just want to give her some groceries or,
mm-hmm.
what is it that you think people really need, that we can start playing a role with that?
I mean, really, so typically when a situation like for me, I stayed with a lot of my friends, right? So I
Mhm,
had a lot of friends whose parents were like, why are you here all the time? I mean, you do the dishes and you clean up after yourself. And so like, we like that you're here, you can go ahead and stay. And I'd have like 3 friends that I'd circulate every week, every couple of days throughout the week. And I think the biggest thing that stood out for me was just their kindness and their generosity, like
mhm,
their willingness to give you a pillow and a blanket, their willingness to feed you when you don't have anything to eat. It's the little things like that. So, I mean, typically if you're a parent and you have your kid has somebody that's like in that situation, but just
mhm,
basically to be there, like open arms, and obviously, within your means too. I don't. My
mhm,
goal was to never put anybody out, and
mhm,
but a lot of that's why, like, even if they said I could stay, I still felt like, okay, my 3 days are up. I'm going to go over to this house, and I was
mhm,
always just like, super respectful in that manner, and so I felt like a lot of parents didn't mind me being there.
mhm,
So I mean, that's like the biggest thing because for me, I had 25 different addresses before I was 24 years old, like
wow.
on my hard credit history because I didn't have
Mhm,
any stable places. And so I'd use friends' addresses and stuff like that. So like buying them groceries would be cool if they had a place to be at.
mhm,
But really just the sincerity, like, do you need lunch right now? It's
mhm,
like that immediate thing, are you tired?
mhm.
Do you need a pillow? Stuff like that. So that's really important, I think. And that could be very helpful as like a stepping stone to get them where they need to be at. There's just somewhere
Yeah,
safe, not
I
under
love
a
that.
bridge or anything like that.
Yeah. Now, so for those that may be watching that maybe they're in that space where they feel
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't really have a place, but, there's that element of not really feeling 100% comfortable to ask for help. So,
Mhm.
what would you recommend for them? Because I know, I was in that space to my own demise because, I thought asking for help was a sign of weakness or what are they going to think or whatever. So, for somebody who is in that space, how do you recommend them get past some of where they're at now to be able to ask and be open about their situation?
I mean, it takes a lot of courage to do that. Honestly, it takes a lot of bravery. And there was some days that I didn't feel comfortable asking, so I slept on a bus bench. And
Mm,
I think that that's really the only thing is to ask for help. That's sometimes how we have to survive is by asking for help, and sometimes it's hard. And I mean, the only other advice would be to search out or seek out like shelters, like temporary
mhm,
shelters.
mhm,
But those are so few and far between, and a lot of times there's not enough beds, or a lot of times it might not even be a safe place. Um,
mm.
so I very much, if somebody's in that situation, very much encourage you to find somebody that you trust and ask for help, because they might not be able to help you, but they might know somebody that might be able to help you. So.
I love that. This is just such a wonderful teachable moment because I think sometimes people who have been through their journey, they get to the point where, oh, I made it over. And sometimes we don't even want to open that door back up.
Mhm,
It's like,
mhm.
oh, I lived through that hard time. I just want to go on with my life, forget about it, and talk to someone who's watching about what this does for you to be able to go back and help somebody else? How has that changed and impacted your life?
Um, I think that like I really realized my purpose on this planet.
Mhm,
I was probably a few months ago. I was still working at Ford, and I would go into work every day, and I would cry because I was
mm,
at work and I was working on cars, and I knew that that's not what I needed to be doing. I knew I was supposed to reach back and help, and
mm,
there was just something in me, and I didn't know what it was. And I would write little notes to myself, and I'd stick them all over my toolboxes because I knew that it was like I was on this breaking point. And I put one of the notes up right here in my office, and I said, "You do not get to live through everything you did and not help anyone else get out. You don't get to do that." And I would just write these notes to myself until one day I said, "I'm going to do this, and I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket, and it's going to work because it's got to work." And I think that what it does for me is it makes me feel like I've helped a little piece of, like, not even just myself, but like
mhm,
anybody else that's going through that, um, remotely, even if it's not even as to the severity that I went through it, even if it's just to give
mhm.
them something to eat and some skills to use out there on the street, or whatever. I think that for me, it's a very filling thing, to be able to do, and it just makes me happy. And it is truly like it's something that I don't do this every day and like cry about it. This is
Mhm,
like I'm like I do this every day, and I'm like this is like what I'm supposed to be doing. And the way that the pieces are going together makes me feel like, why didn't I do it sooner, almost,
gotcha.
because everything's just kind of clicking, you
Falls right in.
know.
And
Yeah.
it's very therapeutic too. I mean, I have to
Hmm.
say myself. So,
Hmm.
what is it that you do to kind of guard your mindset? Because, we've got COVID and, you've got the situation where people are probably like, girl, you had this job and, working for Ford and, you let that go. What is wrong with you? So how do you get in this space to kind of be able to combat that, and stay focused and clear about what it is you're supposed to do?
I think that like the first month was like, yes, this is it. The second month, I was like, dang, this is a really big hill, and maybe I don't know if I can get to the top. And then the second month, I was like, ooh, you better start slow because it's going to take a long time to get to the top. And then something happened the last couple of weeks, and I was like, why are you playing? Like, why are you playing around? Like, let's get it together. I think that yeah, I just think that a lot of self-care has been involved in
Mhm.
this, and like just really talking to myself about it and be like should I why did I make the right decision by quitting Ford? Did I make like I made a lot of money, now I don't make any money yet, you know, and the goal is to not make money at all. Like it's a non-profit, so I'm planning on being semi-poor forever, and I'm totally okay with that. Like it makes me
Mhm.
so happy to not feel like I have to go chase that you know
Mhm.
that standard or whatnot. I feel perfectly happy with my $5,000 car driving down to the house to make sure everybody's good and in order and driving the kids where they need to go. Like that's
Mhm.
where it clicks and where I feel great. And so I think that just like taking a minute and taking care of myself mentally too. I had to, you know, I'm not
Mhm.
ashamed to go to the therapist and talk to the counselor about things, and especially when I struggle because I have my own, you know, going through the trauma that I went through. You know, I'm suffering and from PTSD, and it's just
Mhm.
something that we do. You know, we just keep going.
Mhm.
We're resilient.
Mhm.
So for me, it's just a lot of self care, a lot of talking it out, and a lot of talking, hyping myself up, like so that
Mhm.
we can get through it every day. So.
I love that, and that is just so true. I think a lot of people think, oh, you're following your dreams. And, we see the end goal, and the journey to get there is sometimes so different than what we can imagine, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, there's no cameras, there's no lights, there's no notoriety for some of these things that you're doing when everybody else is just going on with their life. So I
Mm-hmm.
love that you mentioned that. And the whole thing about self-care that's so important is remembering that the more you give to yourself, the more you have to give to other people, because it's coming from
Exactly.
abundance, you know?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's so phenomenal. So what are some things that the audience can help you with when it comes to this nonprofit? What phase are you in? What are some things that we can do?
So right now I'm in the heavy planning phase. I have an appointment in I think about 3 weeks to file
Mhm.
my 501c3 paperwork. So after we get that filed away, then we'll start fundraising for land and or like a fourplex or a bigger apartment complex. With the housing market being as volatile as it is lately, as it has been, especially here in the Treasure Valley, it was a little discouraging. I'm not gonna lie, like
Mhm.
trying to make a budget for something that's changing by the thousands of dollars every day is incredibly hard. But I'm not gonna let that stop me, and I think it's gonna work out however it's supposed to. So
Mhm.
I'm just gonna keep moving forward, and I think things to look out for the audience would would be just when I'm ready to start fundraising. I think I'm gonna, get out there and start doing that. Just be on the lookout, even if it's not my organization, even if it's
Mhm.
something local. There is a need in every city, I believe, in every town, every state in this country for a transitional living program for vulnerable youth, kids aging out of foster care, kids getting out of, treatment, kids getting out of juvenile hall, kids that are homeless, kids that are leaving their abusive families and they're finally 18 and they just can't be there anymore, but there's nowhere else to go. I think that there's a need for it in every city. And if there's a program that's similar to mine, like donate to that, even if it's just like clothes, stuff like that. I think we're going to get a fundraiser going for like professional clothing and shoes for when we try to get them set
Mhm.
up to find jobs or get back into school and stuff like that. Because some of them will
Mhm.
come with nothing. Some of them might come with something. Some of them might come with jobs already. But we just want to be prepared for all of that. So I'm just in the planning phase right now. And like I said, we're getting ready to file that paperwork, and then we'll be ready to roll. So
That is so awesome and so inspiring, because I think, everybody can do something. I love how you said, even if it's just something local.
mm-hmm.
Oftentimes we get in our own heads about, woe is me, I can't do what I used to do with COVID. And, you think about people who are just struggling in general with just, day-to-day things, whether
Mm-hmm.
COVID was here or not. So I love
Yeah.
how you bring that back around for everybody to be mindful of. So, what are some things that you do in your daily routine when it comes to your self care to keep yourself going?
That's a great question. Um, Lately, it's been a lot of meditation in the morning. Just planning out my day. I like to sit and close my eyes and just, okay, this is how the day's gonna go. Like speak it into existence.
Mm,
I drink a lot of tea, hot tea, and the idea of spending 10 minutes to do nothing and just breathe is just really where it's at for me. It's my jam. Um,
mhm,
those are the little things I
mhm.
that's basically been it for me lately. I
And that's
journal, I write.
huge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a big deal, and like I can tell when I skip a day or I, cut some parts of it short, my day doesn't go like I need it to go. And I was like, oh, hold up, wait
Mhm.
a minute. So every day is a new day to start over, though. Every day is another chance to just get right back to it. So
Love
for
that.
me,
Now and then,
yeah.
the whole thing of like, I just sense so much freedom from being able to do what it is that you feel led to do versus doing the things that maybe society thinks in terms of, finding security in your job and your position that you used to have. So, can you kind of explain that uh belief, if that's something that you feel about having freedom, to someone who's watching? Because so often we feel that maybe our value is attached to the roles that we play and the things that we do, but kind of walk us through that freedom that you feel even though you don't quote unquote have that job that everybody thinks is that ideal job.
Right. That's a good one. So I just feel like man, like when I was working at Ford, like, so I grew up very unstable, obviously, right? The
Mhm.
25 addresses before I was 25. Um, I didn't get my first real job until I was about 24 years old.
Mhm.
Um, and then when I got the job, it was like pumping gas or something like that. And then I went down to the Jiffy Lube and I asked them for 6 months to hire me. And then one day they were like, fine, we'll hire you. And then I got the job. And I spent like 7 years there, 6 years there. And I was like, I'm not letting go of this job. And then I had so many good opportunities come in. And I was just like, no, because I'm afraid of not being stable anymore. And it takes a lot for me to
Mhm.
change jobs. So I've only done it since I've been in the workforce. I've only changed jobs from Jiffy Lube to Ford in Oregon, and then from Ford to Ford in Idaho. So that's been my
Mhm.
three like solid things, and that stability was something that society told me I needed to have. It was something that my mental health told me I needed to have, because without
Mhm.
that job and without that money, you couldn't pay your bills. You go into depression. You got
Mhm.
PTSD, and it brings you back to, I'm unstable and I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I'm just like, panicking. So it took a
Mhm.
lot for me to feel that way, and to actually act on it. And I think that the freedom that comes with this, like, I'm finally free, and everybody's like, "Oh, do you ever go back to working on cars?" And I'm like, not like that. Like, if some people want to learn how to work on their cars, they could pay me to show them how to work on their cars. I'll do very cheap labor for some people that are struggling, but that's not my
Mhm.
jam anymore. Like, I'm not gonna have these people feel taken advantage of in this industry or that industry. And it was just, I don't even know how to describe it. It was just this break, and I'm scared. I still am scared. But I think that, like I said, it's before, it's going to work out how it's supposed to work out, regardless. And I know that I'm going to be okay.
Well,
So,
and one
yeah,
one thing that I learned too, I'm sorry to cut you off, is that
no, it's okay.
someone said that excitement and fear feels the same. So we
Mm-hmm.
can always change our words to, instead of saying scared, I'm excited, and use that fuel to keep us going with momentum. whatever it is that hurdle that we have to go over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that was the advice that you gave me in that clubhouse, was to replace the words. And so that's what I did. I was just like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm super excited. And then what happened was is I told everybody about it, right? So I was like, yeah, I'm
Mhm.
quitting, I'm leaving. And they're like, why are you leaving? Where are you going? I said, I'm gonna go do this. And they're like, whoa, really? That's wild. And I told as many people as I could. And
Amen.
now I have people that are like, hey, I can do a website for you. My brother builds tiny homes. Like, let me know when you get land. Like, I'll
Mhm.
be here. I'm a mentor. I can help. I'll volunteer my time. You don't have to pay me. Like, now we're like getting all of these pieces just connecting, and I'm like, okay, well, now I really need to get this ball rolling. Now we got.
Mhm.
I think I subconsciously told all these people so that they can hold me to some kind of accountability as well. But then like
Amen.
the the overflow of like people that are ready to like step up and help is just phenomenal. So I'm really looking forward to actually like breaking ground on property and actually like getting it going.
I love that. And,
Yeah.
now, so explain to us the whole concept of, when you say about these jobs and, the stability for society and the things that they thought, and even that piece for keeping yourself positive, with your
Mm-hmm.
own mental wellness. Explain to us how you were able to have the confidence to kind of go into this unchartedness without that same thought about what those jobs provided for you that you now are providing for yourself. Does that question make sense?
I think so. I think that I wake up every day and I'm still afraid. I think that I wake up
Mhm.
every day and I still somewhat question it, but
Mhm.
it's bigger than this whole thing is bigger than me. And
Amen.
I think that I just need to keep telling myself that. Because like I
Mhm.
said, I started off real strong with all the planning and stuff like that. And then like a couple months in between, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should call my old boss back because this is too much for me. Maybe I need to tell somebody else about it so that they can do it. And like, there's nobody on the planet that is more qualified to do this right now, this work right now, right where I'm sitting than me. And so I think
Mhm.
that's just something I have to tell myself every day, no matter what. And every day I still wake up and I second guess myself. And I think that's natural. And I think that eventually,
Mhm.
hopefully, it'll go away because I don't like it. I'm like, you're better than that. But I'm really good at talking myself out of it. I know
Right.
myself really well after all this time, come to find out. So,
Feel you. But what
yeah.
happens is when you get all in, you'll find out something else, because I know for me, it used to be certain things that just would lock me down to moving forward. My son, he used to do all my technology stuff. So when it
Mhm.
comes to computers and websites or whatever, and he just got on his own path and was doing stuff. And when I really went all in my business, I was like, I can't wait around for him. I would wait
Mhm.
around for when he had time to do it. And I just jumped in there and I just started doing things that I would have never imagined myself doing. And now I'm like on Clubhouse and they're like, Mom,
Mhm.
how are you on Clubhouse? And I'm not on Clubhouse, I'm
Right.
making connections for them. But, there's that
Ask them, do you
confidence.
need an invite?
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
right.
you just build yourself up because it's like, man, I'm over here doing websites or I'm doing, new platforms. So I think it's so good what you're saying, so
Hmm.
every day is a learning opportunity.
Absolutely. Yep.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So what is the best way for the audience to get a hold of you?
Oh, my email probably would be my email or my, I don't have anything like as far as site wise set up for this
Mhm.
because I need to figure out a name and I
Mhm.
don't know the name. And I guess
Mhm.
that's one of the hardest parts about like creating a business or a nonprofit or anything is picking a name. I
Mhm.
didn't know that. And I'm like, yeah, I'll figure out the name. So, but my email address is TTOWNSELL05 at gmail.com. So Townsell05 at gmail.com. would be a good way to get in touch with me at this time. So maybe later I can have more options available as far as like a Facebook page or something like that. But I don't have that yet.
Awesome. Okay. And what final words would you like to share with everybody today as we close out?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I would just say final words. Wow, that's a hard. I don't know. Just reach
You,
back, I guess. So my thing would be to reach back and always like no matter where you are in your journey, reach back and let someone else know that they're going to be all right. I guess that would be my final thought on
that's
this.
powerful because so many of us don't do that. So we want to thank you so much for sharing that and for that reminder because it is huge for you to be able to reach back, you know? So
Hmm.
thank
Hmm.
you so much for coming on. You didn't even seem nervous to me. Okay.
My hands are sweaty. They're sweating right now.
The good thing
But
is
thank
this
you so much for
camera,
having
and
me.
I said the good thing is camera, nobody can even see. Okay, so you're good. All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
So we want to thank everybody for joining us today. If you have any
Yes.
questions, feel free to put them in the comments. We'll be sure that Tara gets them. But in the meantime, go out and be the best version of yourself. Share the video
Mhm.
with somebody who might be able to resonate with the message. And we just want to thank you all for your time and for watching with us today. And we will see
Thank you.
you on the next episode. Bye for now, everybody.